Hey everyone, Coach and Hoka One One Athlete Sage Canaday here with another Training Talk Tuesdays. Yes, they are back. I took a couple weeks off there, but we're going to answer your top voted questions from a couple weeks ago. Top voted ones. First question, non-running related question, but I'll humor you guys and then we'll answer an actual running related question. But first question got top votes. Hi Sage. Do scorpions have the capacity to distinguish between an affectionate human touch and perceived threatening behavior? If so, can they replicate or reciprocate, big difference there, this affection in a way that we can interpret? Thanks. So that's scorpions. Similar, they're arachnids, I believe, which you think like spiders, right? And again, I am a Scorpio myself, but it's a little out of my expertise. I did a little research, a little digging. A lot of scorpions, there's a lot of different types of scorpions out there. A lot of them aren't terribly poisonous, as in if they sting you, they won't kill you, but some definitely will. And, they're part of a balanced ecosystem. They hunt smaller, little things to eat usually, and as well as each other sometimes. But if you look at their brain structure and the central nervous system, they do have some ganglia, the ganglia part, and most of it, I would say, is probably, it appears, devoted mainly to survival instincts, like a lot of creatures kind of in those classifications. We all just want to survive, right? They're really sensitive to being able to react very quickly to changing environmental conditions around them. And, I read that they have, a bunch of eyes, a bunch of senses. They could sense the vibration. They could see really well in low light. So even little subtle shadow differences at night in really low light conditions, they're able to react very quickly to that, to perceived threats, and do that with extreme precision, so to speak. Sorry, there's a little tongue twister there. That being said, to answer the question, human touch, I would say, in my opinion, non-scientific, is most likely going to be perceived as a major threat. And if you've had personal experience with scorpions, I really haven't that much. I've seen some in the wild before and stepped around them. But with their sensory power, they're going to probably detect you very quickly, and they're going to take action very quickly. They're probably the nicest thing they could do in terms of showing affection is probably sparing you from a poisonous or painful, at least, sting. Or they have their little pinchers too, I think, but usually that stinger's the dangerous thing, and they'll just scurry away. A lot of times these types of very venomous animals, you think like snakes and maybe spiders, scorpions being other arachnids besides spiders, are going to inject you with poison at a very last resort because they're afraid for their life, right? These guys are scared of you. So don't underestimate them. I can't say concrete for sure that, they don't have these feelings and emotions. Whether or not they express them towards humans might be a little bit of a stretch. It's generally accepted in science that only a few mammals have the capacity for self-consciousness. So you think like even dogs, for example, don't necessarily have that self-consciousness, but they do feel and exhibit emotion, obviously, lots of emotion, as well as complex thoughts and problem solving. So, I don't want to sell these animals short, but there's a lot of unknowns out there, and when it comes to studying animals and the science behind it, even more simple animals, we like to think with the exoskeletons, their ability to have emotions and more complex thoughts outside of just pure instinct and reactionary survival mechanisms, that's still nothing. I can't prove that they don't have that, is what I'm saying, I guess. But that's a whole nother can of worms and a whole nother training talk altogether. We're going to get into the running related question now. So great question here about marathon pace, marathon long run workouts. Hi Sage, in marathon training, I have generally favored long continuous marathon pace blocks in the latter part of a long run. Maybe influenced by the fact that my first marathon plan was from Pete Fitzinger's Advanced Marathoning. That is a book. I have seen plenty of plans or runners recently doing long runs with multiple shorter blocks, almost like long run marathon pace fartleks, but I've never done these before. Do you see a particular benefit with one being better than the other, or is it more of a case of whatever floats your boat? So great question there. If you don't know Pete Fitzinger's book, Advanced Marathoning, have it on the shelf over there. It's one of the best marathon training books ever. Of course, I'm a little biased because Coach Sandy and I have plans, marathon training plans at our website, higherrunning.com, 16-week marathon plans, advanced plans, BQ qualifying types of times for people running marathons. And we actually do a lot of these long run workouts where there's a lot of pace changes embedded within the context of a long run. So you're thinking of doing, these big long runs as you're training for weeks and months before a marathon. And those change. Those change over the course of our plans. They change over Fitzinger's plans. And they also change with what other types of kind of speedier or faster marathon pace workouts you're doing, as well as what your total weekly mileage is. So a lot of variables there, right? But generally, we do like doing these pace changes in long runs, and we do see a benefit to that. Something like fartlek surges, where maybe you're doing 3 minutes at 10K pace, followed by 2 minutes easy. Then repeat that 3 minutes at 10K pace or 10K effort, followed by some easy pace. And you do maybe 6 or 8 times 3 minutes hard, 10K pace, 2 minutes easy recovery. That kind of fartlek cycle or timed interval cycle in the second half of a 20-mile or 32K long run generally is a really good stimulus, because you could spike your heart rate pretty high. It feels almost like 100%, and you get the legs moving even faster than your goal marathon pace. So that teaches a lot of discipline in terms of mental ability to be able to surge and speed up and change gears as you get tired in a long run. But it also helps with boosting your aerobic system, clearing lactate, scientific things like that, and stimulating fast twitch muscle fibers mainly, which could improve your efficiency in the long run. It improves your efficiency, your ability to be comfortable at your goal marathon pace, because we all know if you've run a marathon, that last 10K could get really tough, and it's not even a matter of speeding up, but just holding on to that pace and not slowing down too drastically. But when you negative split long runs or run the second half faster than the first half in training a lot, that's a good mindset and a good way to train your body to hold more even paces, at least during the race. Of course, most of us are not doing the full 26 miles or 42.2 kilometers in a training run before that race. Some of us do that, and some of us do over distance long runs even. But most people and most of our plans are usually topping out at 22 miles, maybe 23 miles. What is that, 45K? As a maximum type of long training run. And a lot of plans barely even go up to 20 miles or 32K for your longest long run. But it's not all LSD. It's not all long, slow distance. For more beginners, we would generally say, okay, you do want to just get in the distance, and if you've never run over a half marathon or you've never run over 21 kilometers, yeah, work your way up to 15 miles or 30K, 17 miles. And do it slow and steady to make sure you could get in the distance without hurting yourself. But as you get more advanced, as you start running higher mileage, after you've had maybe a couple marathons under your belt, you could definitely play around with throwing in some faster surges. And like Matt says in his question, he does a lot of marathon pace. That's also great. Just slow and steady up tempo is what we like to call it. Maybe you throw down the last 6 miles or the last 10K of your long run and practice running marathon pace on tired legs. But why not also have some workouts or some long run workouts where you go even faster? And usually it's a tall order to ask you to go faster for a long stretch at a time. So we usually then break it down into those 3-minute surges. But you could also do more advanced marathon training. You look at Renato Canova type of workout approach, where you're doing basically repeat 3K, repeat 5K, or 2 to 3 miles at slightly faster than marathon pace, and then taking a short rest jog in between. And if you do enough repetitions of those, that in itself is a really long workout day. It can be embedded in the context of a big long run as well. It's usually more of an advanced type of thing to be doing long intervals, long stretches of running, be it like 2 or 3 miles, 5K like I said, maybe even 3 or 4 times 5K at maybe 10 seconds a mile faster or 6 seconds per kilometer faster than your goal marathon pace. So Renato Canova is looking at it, marathon pace is 100%. You'd go 105%, or you go 110% speed. of the marathon pace, right? So a little faster, but also some workouts where you run a little slower. And generally, with most of our higher running plans, with most of the miles in your long runs and training, they are going to be slightly slower than your marathon pace. You're not going to want to do every long run right at marathon pace and try to run all these 20 miles at your goal pace, because that's going to lead to overtraining and injury risk, and probably going to be really, really hard to do when you're hitting peak high mileage. But if you start off a little slower, the first 10 miles, the first 16K of a long run, you're running pretty steady, and then you launch into these fartlek surges, or you launch into some up-tempo or tempo surge types of efforts, you could get pretty intense pretty fast, and it's a good way to train your body to not deplete glycogen as fast. You're fueling. It's a good way to get comfortable being uncomfortable, getting that dead-legged feeling of practicing maybe drinking and taking in gels as well, while you're breathing harder than hopefully what you will be doing during the race. It makes the race feel more comfortable because your body is now prepared for that last 10K in the marathon race, and for holding a faster pace and feeling comfortable mechanically while doing it. So the main factor there, of course, comes with experience, injury resistance. What is your weekly mileage? What are your long runs like leading into these types of harder long runs, so to speak, and how much time you have before your big marathon race. So whatever floats your boat, kind of, but our plans strategically build them in and progress. And with Fitzinger's book, again, you're doing a lot of workouts like tempo runs or tempo intervals, maybe even some VO2 max intervals or track workouts. So you're getting in a mix of speed, you're getting in a mix of long, slow distance. A lot of your easy runs, you might be pushing your weekly mileage as well. So it does matter on what other types of workouts you're doing within those weeks, within the context of a training block. So it's, and also the final factor in that is genetics as well. Some people with some faster twitch muscle fibers respond better. You should be triggering some fast twitch muscle fibers though, even at the end of a long run, just by doing some strides or some sort of pace acceleration, because what happens after about 90 minutes or so is that sometimes all your slow twitch muscle fibers start getting tired. They start calling in on the fast twitch guys to kick in, even if you're running only slightly faster than marathon pace, right? You don't have to do pure speed sprint work if you fatigued yourself that much in the context of a long run. So that's the final benefit of having some pace changes, or at least speeding up and working on some long runs where you're going pretty hard and getting the body used to that fatigue that you're gonna feel in the marathon race. So hopefully it goes more smooth. That being said, you don't want to overdo it. You don't have to do this every weekend. It might only be strategic 2 or 3 or 4 really hard long run workouts in the context of a month, several month buildup before your marathon race. But yeah, it's a great question. Sorry, there's a lot of variables there, but wanted to get really detailed with you guys because I like getting into the details and analysis in these training talks. Thank you so much to all the new Patreon supporters for supporting me as I recover from my pulmonary embolism. Hopefully get back to running pretty soon here. More informative vlogs and training talks on the way. Comment below with questions you like answered, and vote other comments up or your own comments up for the question for Training Talk Tuesday that I'm going to answer next week. The top voted one will be the one I'm answering. Thanks to title sponsor Hoka One One, keeping the dream alive. Again, check out our training plans at Higher Running, higherrunning.com. We sell training plans, Coach Sandy and I, developed for any surface, any distance. Thanks so much for your support. Hope you're doing well. Check out our merch below, and stay tuned for more VO2 Max Productions.